Well, Ben, like you said, tomorrow is a big day. Those individuals between the ages of 45 to 54 will be able to hop online and make their COVID-19 vaccination appointment. And although mask wearing and social distancing will still be required, capacity limits at a number of businesses here in Connecticut that will be lifted starting tomorrow. It's been an entire year since Connecticut lost its first resident to COVID-19.
And 1 year later, we've had 7,821 of our Connecticut neighbors have passed away. So it's a remembrance of what a year it's been.
But the state moving forward from the pandemic with more than 500,000 people fully vaccinated. And Friday, the state estimates 200,000 people falling under the 45 to 54 age group will be heading online to schedule a vaccine appointment.
And this has far exceeded my expectations that 80% of the population over 75 would be vaccinated at this point. And it seems like we're on track for all the other age groups that are following to reach that goal of 80%. 80% is important because that's when we're going to start seeing population level benefits of vaccination.
Governor Lamont adds the state is prepared to receive 200,000 COVID-19 doses per week just in time for April 5th, which is when anyone 16 and older can sign up for a shot. Health officials stressing the importance of vaccination, especially considering new variants of the virus are popping up in the state. More recently, the highly contagious variant originating in Brazil, also known as the P1 variant, was detected in a Guilford resident.
We know that these variants of concern, the UK variant, the South African variant, and now the Brazilian variant have been detected in the state. And these variants are more transmissible, and at least from what we know at this moment, the UK variant, which we call B117, is actually more virulent and is actually can cause higher risk of mortality and hospitalizations.
Although as more people become vaccinated and COVID hospitalizations continue to remain low, it is this steadiness, as the governor calls it, that is allowing the state to loosen restrictions. Starting Friday, 100% capacity will be allowed at gyms, libraries, retail stores, houses of worship, hair salons, and restaurants, although 6 feet of social distancing and mask wearing will still be enforced.
I was at the main pub today in Manchester. They've been doing it well. All the plexiglass, maintaining the social distancing, wearing of the mask, and 8-person table capacity, 11 p.m. curfew, but 100% capacity.
Also, all sports teams will be allowed to practice and compete, while gatherings at venues will be capped to 100 people indoors and 200 people outdoors. Also, the current travel mandate requiring a 14-day quarantine, that will turn into an advisory. Bars will remain closed, and then movie theaters and performing art venues will be able to operate at 50% capacity. We're live at the state capitol in Hartford tonight. Nia Maldonado, Fox 61 News.